My name is Jonathan Fife. I live in Missouri, USA, as well as about 50% of my time in Thailand. I'm an 8-figure entrepreneur. I've bought and sold businesses. I own a large farm in Missouri, and I have what many people would consider to be a complete, authentically free life. I'm able to travel, go anywhere I want, travel anywhere I want, work from anywhere I want because of certain business techniques and strategies that I've learned, which all came as part of this weight loss transformation that I'm doing. I'm almost 50% of the way through losing the weight that I need to lose. I'm going to get that accomplished in 2025. But all these have taught me a lot of lessons that I'm now going to use this channel to answer questions for you guys, my friends, about how I became this sort of a business guy and actually how that ties in to the weight loss transformation. So I hope this is helpful and beneficial to all of you out there.
I was wondering if you had any advice on marketing products, starting a business, even with a low budget, and how did you market your business? I found you from YouTube.
Yeah, great question. For me, my business, and this is something I wouldn't sleep on. I always marketed very old school. So I actually did a service business. So we were going to people's houses and doing work for them. And I, of course, did websites and uh, SEO marketing and those sort of things. But we did old school, like sending out mailers in like traditional mail and all that. And that was probably 75% of our business that came in at the point that I sold the business was doing something very old school and traditional. So the critical answer there is knowing who your audience was. And our audience was older people, rural, um, more simple, not in a bad way, but in a good way. And therefore, knowing that audience, they that was more impactful to them than say putting an ad on TikTok, right? So that'd be the critical answer there is actually knowing who your audience is and knowing how to get in front of them.
What life events have most shaped your approach to business and your personal growth?
The answer to that question is dealing with anxiety and panic attacks. I I first started allowing myself to be affected by that in college. So let's say I was 20 years old and completely came out of nowhere. And this would have been at a time predating like The Sopranos. If you're American, you've probably watched the TV show Sopranos and you've seen Tony Soprano. That was something he dealt with. And that was in the years of probably 2000 to 2005, maybe something like that. This predated that. And I, for any unknown reasons, started dealing with panic attacks and anxiety. But the thing was, I had no clue what it was. So I went from being jacked and fit and healthy and athletic and president of my fraternity and dating the hot girls and all this, having a pretty good life that was really moving forward. And all of a sudden, I didn't want to be around human beings at all because I was afraid I was going to have this panic attack, which essentially culminated with me feeling like I just wanted to jump or run and get away. All a panic attack ultimately is a breathing disorder. So um, you slow down your breathing, you stop breathing because you're tense or nervous or feeling any sort of discomfort. And what happens is your brain, there comes a point where your brain is not getting enough oxygen and your brain says, we got a problem here, not enough oxygen, and it sends adrenaline then to your body. So I'm sitting there none the wiser, not knowing what's happening, not paying attention that I'm not breathing well. And all of a sudden my body gets this jolt of adrenaline and boom, like I'm just ready to like go through the ceiling. But that's embarrassing. And so you can't go through the ceiling. You can't take off running. So then I've got to sit on that. I've got to absorb that feeling while I'm across the table from a girl trying to act relatively normal on a date. And I'm feeling like, what is wrong with my body here? And why do I feel like I'm just like about to take off running? And why is my heart like just all of a sudden out of nowhere? And I'm trying to laugh at a joke. I mean, it was awful. So what I did with that was I avoided it. Just went into the classic pattern of avoidance, and so it went from avoiding people, not wanting to be around people, to actually dropping out of college, to, of course, stopping dating or anything like that, without any question. And, stopping my church life, just anything you think of, I just started avoiding it. Actually went all the way through to me moving out to the mountains and living in the back of my truck. That's how far I went to getting away from people and avoiding everything. You now are wondering, how does that tie into you saying formative business experiences? Well, I always had a desire to be successful, and I always knew that I was entrepreneurial. Like, I think that's something you're sort of hardwired with. And so I knew that I had to be successful, and I knew I had to take care of myself and everything. I just didn't want to be around people when I had these terrible feelings come on that I couldn't explain. So I had started a business doing, like I mentioned earlier, service out and going out to customers and doing work for them at their home. And that didn't uh, that didn't get me out of those feelings. Like, I still had to go knock on somebody's door, say, "Hey, my name's John. We're here to help you. What work can I, do for you today? And how's the job looking?" All that sort of stuff, and that felt awful and everything. So, as a businessman, I thought, okay, well, I've avoided everything else in my life. I went 12 years without going home and with having Christmas with my family. I became very, very good at avoiding things. Friends didn't even bother sending me wedding invitations. Hey, you want to hack? You want to hack for getting out of all your nightmarish wedding invitations? That's one. Get anxiety and panic attacks so bad that, like, your friends don't even begin to think there's any possibility that they're going to go, or that you're going to go if they invite you. And so I got very good at avoiding stuff. And I thought, I can avoid stuff with business. How do I avoid stuff with business? Well, I've got this guy working for me. I'm going to have him go to the door and just have him say, "Hey, we're here and we're going to start this job." And I started doing that, and I was like, well, that works good. And anyway, I thought, I can just get these guys to do the whole job, and I will stay at the office, and they can call me if they need to call me. And all of a sudden, this spiraled into, I thought, I can actually build this business here, working out in the country, yeah, working in small cities, changing cities all the time because that was the nature of the work that I did. And I don't have to be confronted with customers face to face, and now I don't have to feel this pain. Avoidance. Beautiful. I nailed it. So, anyway, that started building me into this guy that, instead of asking the formative question of how can I go do this thing and make money, it reframed that question in my mind to, how do I get people to go do this thing to make money for me? And from there, that turned me into a different business person. And while I'm not I'm making some light of the anxiety and all that, I don't want to make light of the fact that it was very painful, and it had a lot of negative impacts on my life, me allowing, myself to down spiral in that sort of a way, not the least of which was, is the weight gain that I experienced, which I'm moving almost halfway done, losing that and resolving that. But there was absolutely pain that came from it, and I'll acknowledge that, but I also need to acknowledge the blessings. And the blessings were that it turned me into a business guy that was able to build and now help other people build their businesses in such a way that they are able to experience the same freedom, the same quality of life that I do, where I have essentially nobody directly relying on me. Because I've built things in that sort of a way. And that construction process of building them in that sort of a way, it came via pain. And that pain then is the thing that was the formative experience that developed me into the business guy that's worth, 8 figures and travels all over the world and has 3 homes and I don't know how many vehicles and a farm, and it's all paid for, and I've still got businesses that make me money, and I have very low input in them, so I'm essentially in a more of a altruistic phase now of giving back and teaching people and helping other guys to. I wouldn't want them to experience my pain, but I would want them to experience my joy of being able to be completely free from their business, and they be able to choose time. They be able to choose how it looks for them to exist within that business, rather than it is for most people where the business actually extracts from them. The, the business owns them. They are a prisoner to their own business, and that's something I've been very blessed to be able to do now. Is use my pain to become a gift and a blessing to help others.
So the question here is, what are you most proud of in your life and why?
What am I most proud of in my life and why? I'm most proud of myself for getting through and going through hard stuff and surviving and pushing through it. I the Before the anxiety and stuff that I talked about, it's just it's hard for me to answer any of these questions without rooting them in in that challenge, and then in that challenge then developing into the weight gain and all that, because it's just been such a formative component of my life, and I don't say all that to give it unnecessary power. It's not that. I look at it as just life. Um, it just is the stuff that developed me into who I am. And my pride is that I didn't let any of that stuff stop me. And I did I people talk about depression, and I talk about depression not being real and how it being something that's self-induced. Okay, there's a 1% of the population that actually has some chemical stuff going on. The rest of us are just making decisions that don't align with who we are, and allowing ourselves to feel and to fall into certain holes and stuff. And I was one of those people, but I get it. I understand it. I understand that pain, and I've been in that point. I've been that place where I didn't want to live anymore. I've been to that point of just desperation of just like, oh, this whatever, I'll take any outcome other than this one that I'm experiencing, because I just couldn't live the life I wanted to live. I had too much discomfort, just too much pain, and that guided me. And um, and so I plowed through that, and I when I first started dealing with the anxiety stuff, back to like the Tony Soprano thing, um, I took the medications, and nothing helped, and nothing helps because it doesn't help. It's not it doesn't help. The one thing that did help was a specific medication I took that was a quick, instant relaxer that would reduce panic attacks, and that was very effective for me. Well, I took what now I believe it's called Schedule 3 in America. Like, it's really really hard to get now, and you can only get like a week supply or a month supply. Well, back when I was taking it, like, I was, yeah, 3 months supply, 6 months supply, no big deal. I'd ask for more, get more, and anyway, I ended up going to a 12-step program through my church that dealt with like addiction and that sort of thing, and I was frankly doing it more focused on food. And so I'm sitting at a table with these two old men, 72 years old, 74 years old, and both of them passed now. May they rest in peace. Wonderful men. They sitting there with these guys that have been sober for like 30 years, alcohol and drugs sober for 30 years. And they were kind of asking me about stuff I'm going through. And I said, yeah, it's really the overeating and my anxiety, and it's really the only thing that's bringing me comfort. I'm a good Christian. I don't do drugs and drink and any of that stuff. And, eat a whole pizza, but no drugs. And they asked if I took any medications. I said, well, I take this one specific medication. And they said, oh yeah, we used to take that when we were partying and stuff. And they're like, how much of it you take? And I said, not that much. I just take it whenever I need it. And they said, like, what kind of dose, you on? And I told them the amount I was taking, which I didn't think was all that impressive. And these two hardened, lifelong drug addicts and alcoholics jaws like dropped to the floor, and they're like, "You take how much?" And I told them, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, dude, that you've got a really that's a real issue, man." And I was like, "Really?" I said, "I didn't know that." And they said, "Yeah." They said, you're taking an entirely too large amount of that specific drug." And anyway, there was a point with that. Again, don't use me as your medical guidance or advice. I stopped taking it, and when I say I stopped taking it, I stopped. I just thought, okay, well, I'll stop taking it. And I dealt with the discomfort of getting off this thing and just cold turkey, horrible discomfort. And apparently, it's potentially deadly even to come off this specific medication, like so cold turkey like that. But I did, and I just got off it, and I was like, I'm just going to walk through it. And this was probably in about 2011, at 2010, and at that point, I've never taken any more medication since then. And I just at that point in my life just started walking through it, and it probably took about 5 years of just up down, like going and doing. I always felt I had a decent knack for teaching, and I was teaching a class on a subject at my church that I was knowledgeable on, and I started teaching, and I was like breathing so shallow, and I was like, I gotta get control of this. Come on, come on, come on. Well, the harder you try to get control of something like that, it just gets worse, and you just gotta accept it. And anyway, I remember telling the person next to me, I said, I'm going to ask you to read this. Can you read this first half of this chapter? And they started reading it, and I was like, okay, that bought me like 2 minutes. I got to get my breathing here under control. I got to get under it. And it's like just getting worse and worse. And I was like, I can't do it. She's about done reading. I can't do it. And I actually just like got up and just like walked out. And this old guy like followed me. I was like, you're right. And I remember it was emotional. Uh, I actually like choked up and like started like crying. And I was like, oh, it's like, I don't know why I cannot, why I cannot control this. But I was like, I'm just like literally like about to jump through the roof. I said, I'm like so much anxiety, and I was like, I don't know why I can't stop, being like this. And he, um, he was a comforting presence and everything. And I mean, it's emotional still to like think about it, but like it's the question being like my most proud of. It's like that stuff. And and like doing that and like not stopping and just keeping on, like been like, all right, well, that didn't that didn't go so hot. Um, on to the next one, and then just literally just on to the next one, and being like, okay, well, now this next week, I have a choice. I can go back to this group again, or I can like just totally avoid it and just being like, all right, I'm going back and just going back in the group. And I just went back in the group, and I was like, guys, last week, here's the deal. I don't know why I have like anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that, but I do. That happened last week. Here I am. I don't know. I don't know what else to say besides that. And 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 then just kind of seeing people be like, "Oh, okay, that's cool," and then just like going on with their life. And I'm like, "Well, maybe this is maybe this isn't quite as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be." And and so I was able to start getting power then from that to be like, you know what? If I just am experiencing that, maybe I should just say that and just say, "Hey, everybody, I'm feeling like a lot of anxiety right now and having some panic attacks. So I feel awkward, and I think I'm just going to go stand outside for a while." And just getting comfortable just in those moments like that, and just saying those sort of things. And then all of a sudden what happens is you just start like it starts losing power, and you I've since found this to like work for like just like literally anything in life. Like if I was getting ready to have a business meeting right now that was like of really, really critical importance, and I was like extremely nervous, instead of like going in and like trying to do some alpha male handshake and put my hand on top of their shoulders and like that's trying to like exert power and try to be cool, I would just be like, oh man, great to be here for this meeting. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm extremely nervous because I'm really excited about this. That's the it's been a life change for me just to like stop trying to hide things, stop trying to avoid them, just put them out in front of me, whatever those things are. And I like I said, I've found this in a listening audience. I would hope we could find this in their own life, that I don't think there's anything you're going through that isn't helped by just simply acknowledging it and being willing to share it and just being like, hey, this all right, this is me right now, this is where I am, this is who I am. um, Take it or leave it, but this is the reality in this moment. I don't think anybody would be served worse by living in that sort of a way.
It takes a lot of balls to go through that, doesn't it?
Yeah, fun. I mean, now I look back at it and I'm like, what a beautiful reality. Like, you know, some guys my age went and got their legs and balls blown off in a stupid nonsense war. I felt sad. Come on. Yeah, like I mean, I'm proud I got through it and all that, but um, I got through it, and now I've got work to do. Like I've got people to help. I hope I'm not helping them because they're dealing with something like this. But if they are, that's okay. But other guys, I see them in prison. Like I see them wanting to spend time with their family. I see them wanting to take vacations. I see them wanting to invest more time into like a new business or whatever, but they can't because their business like keeps drawing them back and like pulling them back. It's like it becomes like this dark entity of sorts that you can't let go of because it's like providing your living and everything. And now I'm able to use all those experiences and in an impassioned way and emphatically be like, no, there's paths out. Like there's ways out to still have a beautiful business that serves you in all the ways that you're wanting to be served by it. And it can even get better every day. Your employees can get happier. You can become more profitable. All that as you are reducing your importance. And that takes, it usually comes down to an ego issue. But these things that I've gone through have basically formed me into the guy that's very capable of that.
Obviously, you're worth a lot of money for those that don't know. Someone here asks, does money make you happy?
Yeah, yeah, it does. That's the no answers on that are is cope. Um, it's now the thing is about it making you happy. The thing about it making you happy, it's not for the reasons uh, people think. Like they think like flexing or something like that. Those are fleeting moments of that it's not even joy. I mean, so it really is kind of like just unadulterated silliness. The flexing, the the money makes you happy when the money makes you happy when I'm able to go home at Christmas and stay as long as I want, and you're so fortunate to Christmas lands on a Friday and you get the Friday off in the weekend. You get a beautiful 3 day weekend, and that's it because you've got to get back to the grind. That's money buying you happiness is when you do things like that. I so for people that don't know this, I mean, I'm working on a weight loss transformation. I'm about 40%, 44% of the way through losing the weight that I need to lose. I think as of this morning, I believe I've lost either 139 pounds. I am currently in Thailand where I'm going to be for 3.5 months because I'm on my second phase of a boxing training camp with a guy, and we're staying up in a small town in an incredible 5-star hotel. I just have my laundry brought in hung up in my room every day, and I've got a full time trainer here. I've got a full time camera guy here. I've got a few other camera guys that are coming in part time to follow me around. Um, I've got all this resource available to me, and I'm able to put complete focus on the thing that I want to accomplish right now, which is affecting my health, and which is living longer by losing weight. Most people can't do that. Most people, that sounds like a nice way to spend their 1 week of vacation, and I'm actually able to just curate my life like around that. Like that's like my life. Like I am purely focused on this singular mission of losing weight, and then business wise, just helping other guys to become in the same condition that I'm in. And does that mean money is buying me happiness? Sure does feel like it. Um, does money actually, like, for guys think it's gonna, like with girls and whatever, that's all fleeting, that's all fake. They're the only difference it's going to make in those regards is your ability to have these kind of moments like I'm talking about, like able to stay somewhere for 3 months and do some boxing work. That's where money, that's where you start talking about actual happiness and money bringing that into your life.
And then, having said all that, what to you does it mean to be successful? Is the next one.
To me, to be successful, like the tagline for all the stuff that I do now is authentic financial freedom. That 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 means a lot to me, and it means finance is you can't extract that from the equation. Like money does matter. Like it actually, the way the world's set up, like we just need it to function in the way that we need to function. And but to do that authentically is, for me, that I could go buy a Lamborghini tomorrow if I wanted to. I guess I could get order 20 of them, I guess, if I actually wanted that. The But that doesn't have any authenticity to me for my freedom life. That doesn't mean anything. My freedom life is means I am absolutely able to do the things that I want to do at any time, in any way. I'm able to live my dream life, and that dream life, sometimes it changes. Um, uh, my dream life, my dream goal for essentially my entire adult life had been to have a farm, and I made that dream a reality in 2018. And I love my farm. My happiest moments in my entire life happen on my farm. My most frustrating moments and things that just make me want to hit my head against the wall that happened in my entire life happen on my farm. It's becoming something of like where my dream is kind of shifting. That dream was achieved, and it's still nice and lovely and all that, but I'm also seeing it as maybe as that's no longer part of my equation of in my dreams. um, I have the freedom to do that now. I have the freedom to conceive of anything that I want to conceive of. If I get a wild hair and decide that I want to make Africa my home base and go help young entrepreneurs in Africa, I can go do that. Like, you tell me money doesn't buy happiness? You're crazy. That's nuts. I I consider that money absolutely buying you happiness, to be able to go and actually impact and bless people's lives in such a real and such a visceral way. Yeah, I think money can buy some happiness.
So, someone asked here a question about decision making, and do you have any tips for making better decisions? And they said they love the dogs, by the way.
They love my dogs. You can see pictures of my dogs on my Twitter banner, um, X banner. How to make better decisions. One one unfair advantage is age. The more bad decisions you've made, if you're a conscious and cognizant man, um, you can remember the decisions, and the bad ones and the good ones, and you can use that to then continually refine and make better decisions. That said, I meet some extraordinarily young and talented guys that are just wise and make good decisions. So I don't want to use that as an excuse. Like you just absolutely have to earn it via time. Um, I see people coming about wisdom in other ways. I do believe that there are things like, this is a little more esoteric, things like universal downloads, that sort of thing, where you just end up gaining knowledge in some other ways that are maybe less easy to explain. Taking risks and just walking through stuff, but then maybe the best answer of all is just reading. Like, um, guys write their books at the ends of their lives and at the ends of their careers and all that sort of thing, because they're getting the way that I'm starting to feel. Like I've got so much like inside me, and I'm ready, and I'm happy to give it away. Like I really want to help people, and you can take advantage of that.
All right, so someone asked, can they get a one-on-one consultation with you?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, my website should probably be up by the time this lands on social media. My website's jonathanfife.com, and in there is, you can link directly to a calendar and actually schedule. You'll be able to schedule the actual appointment. You'll see what the costs are. I think anywhere from 15 or 30 minutes, I believe. I may have an hour option on there. And that's for if you had a very, very specific question and just wanted to jump right into it to see if I could offer you a positive impact, that might be meaningful to you. I've started offering some very, very, very limited, like 8 week boot camp things where I'm taking guys actually through the beginning phases of like scaling their business into getting the business moving as they are coming down. That's something else that I'm doing. I call it the 60 to 6 program. And what that implies is for guys that work 60 hours a week and getting them down to working 6 hours per month. Um, that, that's a certain segment of the guys that are coming on with me. Are guys that already have a successful and a thriving business, and they just say, okay, I may be a little bit tapped out scale wise here, and so now I'm ready to just get this thing sailing along and building what I call like a cash cow, and start extracting myself. How do I do that? How do I emotionally get my because that's really for most guys becomes the challenging part, is how do they emotionally get their mind out of the business, like where you're just like thinking about it all the time. Did I pay my insurance? Did I when are those taxes due? Like that stuff. Um, there, I've absolutely developed ways that you can extract yourself from that, and I I was able to remove 99% of all that. Like I just so little thinking about any of that sort of thing, and that's the sort of thing I teach to guys. Another group of guys that I've been working with are more kind of, maybe they have a small business, just like a handful of employees, and they're still going to be very critical to the business, and they have to remain involved, but they would like to get it to where they maybe had one or two more people on, and to get the sales start going up as they start to kind of slowly learn how to extract themselves from the business. So that's a little bit more hands on, but essentially getting guys freedom. I mean, that's what we all want, right? Like we all just want to be free and be able to, we have one life. Like, I mean, this is it. Like we get one shot, and I I don't want any of my friends, and if you're listening to this right now, um, I consider you my friend. The best definition of friend I ever heard was from a billionaire who said, my definition of a friend is somebody that I'm willing to help," and totally changed my life. I was like, I love that definition of a friend. It's somebody that I'm willing to help. And so if you're listening to this, like I want to help you. Like I want you to experience a life that's fully free. And uh, the guys, they hear me say that and they get it confused. And I had a friend confronted me on it. He said, Oh, that sounds awful. I love my job. I hate the idea of not working. Sounds so lazy, whatever. I said, no, 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 no. You're totally wrong. Like maybe start another business. Go consult and help other people, or go work at a charity. What you know, if you want to step away from your business and get freedom from that to chase something else, you should be able to do that. And if you cannot do that, that means you are handcuffed. It's as simple as that. Like if you cannot step away from your business, that means that you are, by a definition, in prison. Like you are kept at that point by that entity. And I want guys to experience the other side of that. I want them to experience what it's like to just look at their bank account, look at their dashboards, like teaching them how to dashboard correctly and effectively to where they can just get up in the morning, look in and be like, oh, that's what happened yesterday. That's what this week's looking like. Oh, and this month it's looking like that. Da, 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 da. Just look through the spreadsheet and or whatever the dashboard looks like, and they know exactly how everything's going. They know what's going on. They've mentally freed themselves due to the systems that I share, and I really want that. Like I want that for guys. You guys deserve it. You guys deserve to have that freedom.
Do you have any mentors or people you look up to?
I I have a tremendous amount of mentors. I'm an easy person to mentor because if you've got one tidbit that I don't have, you're my mentor. I'm listening. I'm a professional thief, and I will steal any and everything out of your brain and existence that you've got. That's totally the truth. Like I'm always looking to extract from the people around me. I'll tell you a mistake a lot of guys make in this regard. They think, oh, I'm going to listen to the old guy, the old wise guy, or he's not a billionaire. If he's not a billionaire, I'm not going to listen to him. Or if he's not a millionaire, I'm not going to listen to him. Those are very wrong answers. The right answer is to have discernment and you have wisdom. I listen to guys all the time that are 24 years old and that are maybe have $100,000 to their name because I see I see what they're going to become. And right now, their checkbook may not yet reflect where they're going and who they ultimately become, but I know because I've got discernment and I can spot talent. I can spot talent like none other. I know who's going to win and I know who may not win. I know who's got a shot at it, and then I know those guys that are just that are just home runs that are worth investing in. And I listen to those guys. They're 24-year-old guys, 28-year-old guys now that have access to information and ways of looking at it that I just don't have, and I take it from them. I mean, I'm ruthlessly will be stealing from their minds anything that they have to offer. More specifically, like to who I I look to for tons of guidance. I'm kind of I'm kind of I'm kind of seasonal. I find people and like I just like fully immerse into them, and I extract everything out of them that I can, and then I kind of hit like an 80-20 point of where I'm like, yeah, I feel like I've probably tapped as much as I'm going to get out of that guy for now, and then I'll move on to my next host, uh, and it's true. I'm like a parasite, and in that way, I'm a parasite, and I'm going to uh, drain extract that information from you. From about I was Grant Cardone was one that really had a lot of formative knowledge that especially with sales that I used. Um, Andy Frisella was a guy that I've always listened to for a lot of business. He's younger than I am. He's like 2 years younger than me. Amazing, sharp business dude. Um, Very passionate. He's like a hometown boy for me. Like he's like from where I'm from. Um, the uh, Tony Robbins. I can't. The impact Tony Robbins has had on my life would be I don't know that I can think of another human that has had a greater impact on me than Tony Robbins. I've been to every one of his courses, all of his live events, shaking the guy's hand. The love I have in my heart for Tony Robbins, it'd be hard to overstate. He the back to some of the things we spoke about earlier with like dealing with anxiety and like becoming a different person and all that. Um, Tony's impact in all that was just so huge. A lot of people see like a big loud talking head on the internet, and they dehumanize him as just somebody out there trying to take money, and oh, he's trying to manipulate people. And I've if you go to a Tony Robbins event and pay few thousand, $5,000, whatever, and you see that guy come out for 6 days for like 16 hours a day and go as hard as he can, it's hard to say that you're overpaying for something like that. I mean, it's he works so hard to deliver to his audience and to his fans, and I've gained so much from him as a human being. Number one, like just healing my soul, and healing this who I can be to those around me and all that. Gives so much credit to Tony. Um, and as a businessman, Tony has a business course that it's a little bit higher of a price point, but just again, just learned so many like just nuts and bolts business strategies in there that were extremely valuable to me. So yeah, those are some of the mentors that have really framed a lot of my thinking.
What do you think of planning? Do you think it's dumb, just overall planning? Like the world changes so fast, nothing really stays the same. What do you think of planning in general?
What do I think of planning? Anybody that's around me very long likely gets tired of hearing me say this. They say to me, "Do you think we should this or this? Or do you think this is the right direction to go, or do you think that's the right direction to go?" And I almost invariably reply, "No, both and, both and, both and." People ask anybody that's around me a lot, I say both and constantly. Um, I would answer your question the same way. How do I feel about planning? Both and. Meaning, yes, I'm building a plan going forward. Yes, I am absolutely not willing to plan because things are changing so rapidly that I need to be fleet of foot and able to pivot and move quickly and make changes. And and the people at the top of the bell curve were like, well, no, you really need to, do it a certain way and whatever. No, that's my answer. It's both of those things. It's up to you to figure out how to reconcile that. But that's my answer is I am absolutely planning strategically at all times how I'm going to go. And at the same time, I'm also unwilling to plan because I know how rapidly things can change, and you just have to reconcile those 2 points. That's essentially what both and means.
This is a question on the weight loss. What inspired you to start losing weight?
What inspired me to start losing weight? I Yeah, here's the answer I'm going to give here. I want this to bless someone in the audience. I I don't have a rock bottom story for you. I honestly feel like I hit rock bottom. It was like dragging across the surface, bouncing and up and down a little bit at times, but uh, there wasn't like some humiliating event or some doctor diagnosis or something like that. And I want to say that to you to impact you to not, my goodness, don't look for that thing. Don't wait for that thing. You don't need that. Like you can make the change by virtue of just knowing that you need to make the change and making the decision to make a change. And of course, this could mean weight loss. It could mean any other addiction. It could mean starting your own business. It doesn't have to be a negative. It could be a positive. So um, there wasn't like some moment where I woke up and looked at myself in the mirror and said, enough, never again, some Goggins sort of story like that or whatever. I'm too cerebral. I don't operate like that. I just started losing some weight, and like I hired somebody to help me, and had some positive movement, and then I gained some back, and then at the end of this previous year of 2023, I decided that I wanted to stay a longer period of time in Thailand, and I'd met my boxing coach, and I said, all right, let's work together, and I said I want to have a real impactful 3 months with you, and we did. We had a great relationship. We had a ton of fun. Uh, I I ended up um, I ended up healing another emotional part of myself that needed healed. So if you think me getting past the panic attacks is the end of that story, it wasn't, because surprise, surprise, when you've been repressed and had any number of issues with humanity and society for 20 or 25 years, um, yeah, the anxiety might have been the core center of it, but there were other things in my character that changed and needed to improve and become better. And I actually there was some very specific things that he and I worked through, uh, that then just set my trajectory in a whole nother. I just stepped it up to a whole nother level. Um, I really believe that if you're dealing with a big thing, I no disrespect to my brothers out there that are 25 pounds overweight and need to get it under control and whatever. 25 and 300 aren't the same numbers, man. I'm sorry. They're just what you're dealing with emotionally, and what has gotten you to 25 pounds overweight is not the same as what's gotten people, to that 150, 300 pounds or more overweight. And there's going to be some stuff you just got to work through and be a man, like step up, like don't be a coward. Like I dealt with some really uncomfortable stuff, and I actually just ended up just kind of like journaling and writing, and there's I think this would be the case for anyone. I think there's a catharsis that has to take place before you finally get to the other side emotionally of something like this. And I did that back in December, 6 months ago, and it's been and into that time now I've lost almost 100 pounds in that 6 months. uh but it came on the heels of me being willing to get really uncomfortable and just be like, share some things with him, some things that were impacting me, and certain ways that I had come to view the world, come to view myself, and by getting that thing out on paper, and it was embarrassing maybe, and then exposing that with him, it you'll notice that like the sunlight as the ultimate purifier starts starts healing. It starts cleansing that stuff when you just kind of get it out. The danger is when it's just here. The danger is keeping it right there. And when you get that stuff out and you start, then when I get that thing out on a piece of paper, or this works for any kind of relationship. If you get it out from here and you get it out to here where you can actually look at it, now it's separated from you a little bit, and you can like actually like kind of look at it and look at that thing and measure it up and get its bearings and everything. And then you start getting some actual power. Then you start getting some power, and you're like, okay, I see you, and I see how you've affected me, and I think I'm going to confront you. I think this thing here that's challenging me. Maybe it's an insecurity, or maybe it's a fear. Anything. You see that thing, and you just say, "Okay, you've held me down for this long. I'm just gonna dive into the pain. I'm just gonna dive into the discomfort, and and do that." Along the lines of all this other discomfort, I also had an extreme phobia of flying, and so I went years without flying, and just couldn't understand how like my friends could just fly and it like not impact them. I'm like, how does that not? like that it just seemed to me like an insurmountable thought that it wouldn't be just like horrifying that you might just at any moment fall out of the sky and crash and die. Like I hear myself saying that now, and it sounds so absurd. But that was a a concern I had. And I remember the first time I flew in a very, very long time. This is now several years ago, but I I remember Tony Robbins' words, and the words that Tony says over and over is, "If you can't, you must. If you can't, you must. If you can't, you must." And I remember being on that first flight, like sitting there, like, "If you can't, you must. If you can't, you." Like I was just like chanting myself, "If you can't, you must. If you can't, you must." As the plane starts like rolling down the runway and everything like that, and then now, I mean, I fly, like 200,000 miles a year probably or something, and I enjoy it. And every time now I enjoy it more and more because I get to reflect on how it used to be something that bothered me. So yeah, the going through, and that's the thing with like the emotional stuff is then you go through it, and number one is you'll always find out it is not nearly as powerful as you think it is. In fact, you'll end up looking back on it and be like, wow, I gave years to some absurdity. Here's something else you might find. You'll be look back and be like, wow, I gave years to something that wasn't even true. Yeah, yeah, live with that one. And then all you do is just laugh about it, be like, "Yep, I did. Haha, here we are. This is life. Let's go." So
That's funny because even I was telling you about the Boeing thing, and you're like, yeah, whatever.
you were talking about you were scared of Boeing planes. I didn't know if you were joking or not joking.
Scared, I'd just rather not take a Boeing plane. But then you were telling me, yeah, you were laughing at the whole thing, yeah.
No, it's totally a matrix hack to drive their stock price down. Every day, if you watch the news, there is bad news about Boeing over and over and over and over. And I know now you ask about wisdom and how you get knowledge and wisdom, so through experience, I now I remember Facebook about 2 years ago just got bludgeoned with bad news over and over and over. Their stock went from like 375 to like 200 in one night, and it ultimately went down to $75. And a friend of ours, Steven, I remember him saying at 75, he said, "Yeah, this is probably the bottom for them. I'm still scared to buy." But he actually called the bottom, but he also I think he didn't buy at the bottom. I bought at like 200, and anyway, and then it fell down. Instead of, I was like, man, I just like lost half my money, I put into Facebook. And anyway, it went up. Now it's like in the low 500s or whatever after like 2 years. So I'm like, 2 to 3x on that. And Boeing, I now see that it's the same pattern with Boeing. Like they get bludgeoned, the stock gets beat up, and I've been investing a lot into Boeing right now just for that reason because I know the world can't exist without Boeing, so it's a total no brainer investment. Like it legitimately, the world can't exist without Boeing. Like it's not it can't. They're too important. They're too. I mean, they're 50% of everything aeronautical. Maybe more. They're probably more than that. They're actually bigger than Airbus. So, uh, yeah, it's. I'm telling you, invest in Boeing.
What are your main company values, and like, what's the culture like in your company?
The culture in my company. I haven't used this line in a long time, but when I first bought a new business, 2017, I went in and sat down with the people for the first day, and I said, "Here's our company culture in one sentence, um, and for so that you guys understand who I am and what this business is going to look like." And they all looked at me, and I said, "Everyone takes out the trash." And they were like, "Huh? Like, what does that mean?" I said, "That means everyone takes out the trash, and that means me. That means if you and I are walking through the parking lot and there's trash on the pavement, I'm not going to come in and say to the lowest person, 'Hey, there's trash out there. You need to go pick it up.' I'm going to pick up the trash." Okay, that's who we are as a company. Is that none of us are going to look at any aspect of this business and say that's below me or even that's above me. Like we're all in a team, we're all in this together, and we're all going to uh, serve together, and we all will take out the trash if we see trash. And that's that's probably been, whether I verbalized it or not, a core component of my company thing is like there's just no hierarchy exists and there needs to be some hierarchy for some reasons. On the other hand, there also needs to be an absence of hierarchy of like that we're just a team, like we're just sort of in this together, and that means, um, if the bathroom trash is full and you're in there, just tie it up and take it and throw it in the dumpster. Like that's the kind of team, that we are. So that's been a formative a culture thing. I the more I've gotten into stepping away from the day to day of my operation, this is something else I want guys to hear. You'll become so much better of a business owner. Your ego, which is actually tying you to your business because you think you're so important and because you think you're the only one capable of outputting things at a certain level or the best and all that nonsense, that's actually keeping you from even being as good of a business owner as you can be. So whenever I go into my work now, I um like the two managers underneath me will have shared with me anything critical that we need to discuss or go through or whatever. And what that allows me to do is just walk in there and give hugs or make jokes or ask them how their dogs are doing, and ask what they've got, the plans are for this weekend, and say, oh, that you see that new place open it for lunch. Let's order in from that. Let's all order. Did you guys bring your lunches? Because I want to order lunch today. Okay, cool. And all of a sudden, like it becomes like now. Whenever I show up, I think you could ask my employees this. I'd be happy for you too. But I think if you said when John shows up, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? They'd say it's a good thing. That means fun. That means happiness. That John's going to bring joy with him. John's going to bring a ton of positive energy, and we're going to laugh and we're going to be excited and we're going to have fun. And yeah, with managers and stuff, we'll deal with critical stuff in a different way if I'm needed for something. Very rare, but if I am, and then the other employees, I can just check in on them. You okay? Are you okay? Is everything okay with you? How's haven't me and you haven't had a chance to sit down in a while. I just want to check in with you. Everything still okay? Anything with the job that you want to tell me? Is everything going good, or is there anything you'd like to talk to me about? No? Okay. If there was something you could think of that you wanted to talk to me about, what would that thing be? And then, maybe you get something. And yeah, just you get to where you become like the thing that I want to be, which is more of like a friendly mentor. Like I'm the guy that's there to help, that's going to help you with your life. Um, Part of that means by virtue of me paying you, obviously, but also just use me as your resource. How can I help you? Like really, um, and that's very valuable to me.
Is it hard to do business when you're fat? No offense.
Who's that person asking asking that? Um, like, would you expect it to be easier? It's virtually, it's almost all negative. Um, on the other hand, I could acknowledge positives. Let's just take the most silly example. Let's say that I'm in meeting with customers at our job, at our work, and they say, "Oh, can we see that product?" And it's in our warehouse that's a half mile away. And they say, "Can we walk over there to see that product?" They're not looking at me, and they never look at me and say, "Hey, John, can you walk us over there to go see that product?" They're not going to ask me that. So, uh, again, I think when you look at everything as like polarities of like it's all good, it's all bad. Um, no, I mean there's ways you can take advantage of being fat. I mean, I could probably draw like disability for being fat. I could actually like be getting paid. Joe Biden could be paying me to be fat. Like I think in business this is a tool I've had to like capitalize. Is like always having that mentality of lemonade out of the lemons. Like and so yeah, like there's I'll be, again, completely honest. American businesses are horrified of fat people. Um, I don't know if because fat people sue them or because they're scared of the woke brigade coming after them or whatever. But you guys ought to see the treatment like I get like on airplanes and stuff. Like I like get like royalty treatment. That's true. Like uh
They're afraid you'll make a TikTok of them or something.
exactly. And then it's like, sir, do you think you might need a seatbelt extension? Like whispering that in my ear. And I I go the other way on that stuff. Like I come on the airplane and because I'm like, okay, this is my choices here. I can be like, you know, like embarrassed about this, or I can like be alpha about it. So I come on the airplane, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be needing a seatbelt extension, and like everybody like kind of turns and looks at you, and I'm just like, why not just own it? Like, I need a seatbelt extension. All right, um, and it's funny you can how you can see people's like just attitudes towards you change when you just when you just behave differently than what they're anticipating that you're gonna behave. Um, so yeah, lemons and lemonade. They're uh, I would never want to look at those things as positives. Like hey, look at me, I'm winning out here. Everybody's like a bit scared of me and because I'm fat and afraid I'll sue them for some nonsense American reason. No, it's not that. But if there's opportunities to make the best of what my current situation is, sure, yeah, I'll take them. Um, when you're fat, like your energy, I've luckily always had tons of mental energy. Like I'm always been able to go business wise, mentally, and that sort of thing, and have juice and power in pretty much any regard mentally. Um, would it be 5 and 10x that if I was at a healthy weight? Probably so. So again, it's a handicap. The biggest harm that's come to me from the obesity as it relates to business is just the avoidance. So here I am making a YouTube video, just opening a YouTube account in the middle of 2024 as I'm just introducing myself on social media when I could have been doing this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I could have been doing these things and slowly building like a following and all this that would have had tremendous value. And the only reason I didn't, and the only reason like I never like put my name out for in my city for like top 30 under 30 in business or anything like that is because I'm fat and because I didn't want a photo of me on on the website or for any number of reasons like that. And impact on that, uh, massive numbers for sure.
What do you think of OnlyFans management as a business model and just maybe the morals behind it or whatever? What do you think?
I know there's guys that make a ton of money in some of those models, the OnlyFan management and whatever. So there's certainly money to be made there. I question whether or not the skills are transferable enough. Number one, we know any industry where like tons of money floods into it really fast. We also know that it'll flood back out just as fast and into something else. And I question whether the skills are transferable enough of what you would pick up in that level in that sort of management for it not to essentially be it. It's not time wasted because you're making money, but it's time not invested. Because like if you're building a business, let's say an actual real business, boring business that manufactures something or sells something or serves something like that, you're building something to sell. That's where like really that's where your money really is. That you're like actually building like an asset. Now that asset should throw off cash, and so then you also get an income, dividends, that sort of thing. But what you're really creating is you're adding to your net worth is by building this asset. I don't see this as something that's like building someone's net worth. I think it's a short time play. It's also it's going to be it's I also see a component of it like same as like crypto. There's this like spoiling factor that happens of like once you've had like a 10x or a 100x return, how are you ever going to go back to investing in Walmart stocks that goes up 10% per year. Like you're so spoiled in your thinking, and I already see that with young guys. Like it just fits into the whole dopamine rush mindsets that we have now. If everything is fast satisfaction, and I think the OF money is that same thing. It's fast satisfaction. I think young guys are going to be spoiled and think, oh, I can start something and all of a sudden I can get up to 100,000 a month. Man, 100,000 a month in income revenue, much less net profit, is so hard to do. I mean, that puts you in maybe like the top 3% or 5% of businesses, maybe, or something like that. Like, because most businesses fail. And so, and then much less to hit those kind of numbers, like as profits, is so extreme. And I think I think it builds like a gambling culture. It creates like a business gambling culture, just like crypto is creating like a investing gambling culture. I think that same thing will happen with OnlyFans.
How do you approach risk in business and personal decisions in general?
That's a question I love to answer. I absolutely want to be clear in framing myself here as the conservative guy. I say that not because I'm proud to be conservative. It's more that I'm sort of wired that way, and I want to acknowledge that because I would want to hear people. I would want to hear people listening to me if they think, "Oh, that sounds too rigid." It might be too rigid for you. That's okay. That's we all get to become different people. Um, Now, risk is interesting in that you could make the argument that risk should be measured based on your status in life. So, as I'm the focal point here, I'll use myself as that. My life as the example. I'm 47 years old. That's not old, but I'm also not super young. I am at this moment still not in great health, although I will be next year. At this moment, I am not in great health because I'm obese. Things can happen. Um, and and then I have other people, family members that rely on me. I have a whole farm with a tremendous amount of animals that all rely on me. People that rely on my guidance and mentoring and leadership and things like that. And that then begs the question of, okay, in that status of life, considering weighing all those points, how much risk is it wise for me to be taking, considering age, health, and who's relying on you. And from there, you shift all that out, and you try to make as wise of a decision as you possibly can. If I had my same money that I have now, and I was 30 years old and didn't have people relying on me, and I had complete freedom, and I was traveling and living wherever I wanted, and all that sort of thing, my risk profile would be substantially different than what it is now. There's also the concept of there's also the concept of retirement, and although I don't really believe in the concept of retirement as in stopping working, I do know that there comes a point in your life where people do seem to start slowing down and have less energy, and they want to spend their time doing other more family oriented things, and those things all require money, and you don't want to be the sponge that has to rely on other people to take care of you, right? So that means I need to have money nest egged to support me and my loved ones, which could end up being a lot of people. And so I have to measure all that risk. And on the other hand of the whole conversation is, you only live once, right? Like it's there's the argument to be made of, just like, if you did it once, you can do it again. Why not go all in? The uh, I if I if I was able to build a business, before, I could certainly do it again. And I also, something I think about, a phrase guys will hear me say all the time, same as like the both and, is this. They'll ask me something and I say, today John doesn't know the answer to that. Tomorrow John probably will. And that's truly how I feel. Like I've got way more faith in tomorrow John than I have in today John. And so I fully believe I could be faced with anything. And tomorrow John he's the guy he'll be able to handle it. Even if I can't today. Like today, if I'm not ready for it and don't feel adequately prepared, yeah, tomorrow John will.
What's the biggest L you've taken, and what did you learn from it?
Biggest L I've taken. I I might say I'm slightly disappointed in myself for not having as many L's as I'd like to have, and I don't see that as a positive. I see it as a reflection of me at times being too conservative. Um, and so therefore, my current biggest L's are probably not in things that I've done, and here's the lesson: they're in the things that I haven't done. So keep that in mind. Like I feel you hear the one of these deathbed things all the time. I feel I feel far worse about the things that I've passed on than actually the bad decisions that I've made.
What do you think is the best age for a man?
Today is the best age for a man. Oh, dude, I don't even. Uh, I I'm I'm sitting here. The guys that are across the table from me that you can't see that I'm talking to are 25 and 26, 27, 25 and 27. And besides the fact that they're physically fit and I cannot yet compete with them at that level, in 2025 they they're toast. But in 2024 still, I physically can't yet compete with them on some things. Intellectually, yeah, being able to go hard on a business thing or dive into a problem and start chewing on it and fixing it and all that. I don't feel like you guys have the slightest advantage over me. And I would, in fact, I'd be aggressively and eagerly wanting to go to town, go to war with you guys on something like that because I'm like I've got the same energy as you guys do, and I've got wisdom that I can help you guys with and bring that to the table. And I have people guess my age. I had somebody guess my age the other day at 30. That's the youngest one I've had. Most people here will guess me at like 35 or 37. And I've had, and not just because it's in a different culture, like I've had other people say that, and they say because they say they just feel like a different, a younger energy that comes off me, and I don't hear that and say, oh shucks, and get bashful, and I'm like, yeah, I know, that's exactly how I feel. It's the truth. I'm like, I'm literally like aging backwards. I say that all the time. I'm like, I literally feel like I am aging backwards. Part of it's the health transformation. Part of it is just emotional and psychological rejuvenation that I just impose upon myself. That's just who I am. Every day, every day in every way, I get stronger and stronger. Every day in every way, I get better and better. Every day in every way, I get wiser and wiser. Every day in every way, I get more and more disciplined. And those are actually affirmations that I do every day in the mornings. I say those the exact same things. And so I absolutely imposed it upon myself that like, no, I am that guy. I'm that guy that is that's Richard Branson at 65 and is, kite surfing and has long hair and that may not I may not have that may not work out for me, but he's got this old gray hair out there on the ocean and doing cool stuff and like why not? Like you can just remain youthful, like it's just all a choice, like it's a decision. It's so things like that matter so little, and in fact I would even argue culturally there are forces and powers in play that try to impose that on you. I have friends that are like 31 years old and they're like, well, yeah, about what I expected. At 31, and here the belly's coming, and barely have enough energy to do it. I'm just like, oh, you're casting such bad spells on yourself, and that's so against what you could have in your life. I've heard this, could be anecdotal, maybe it's true. Sparta only considered a man capable of being a peak top warrior at 40 years old. That's when they actually thought the man was like at peaking out was at 40. And we're told like an athlete generally peaks out, I think 28 is what we say in most things. Um, yeah, just decide that's not true. I know strength wise from doing like powerlifting and stuff like that, men men hit their powerlifting peaks in like the 35 to early 40s range. It's not 25-year-olds out there that are the strongest guys. You can just keep getting stronger. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. That can apply to so many areas of your life. Every day in every way, I'm getting younger and younger, more and more youthful, having more fun, more joyous, enjoying life's experiences more. It's enjoying life's experiences more. It's just all a decision. It's all a framing, and just anything anything that you see that gets imposed onto you by culture that is well, here we go, the midlife crisis. I've got friends. This friend of mine, he looks like a 72-year-old garden gnome because he dresses in this fashion, and his wife dresses all matronly, and they're 47 years old, and they look like what I remember my grandparents looking like. And they think there's something kind of like cool about that. Like they're like embracing their age and becoming like this. And I can't wrap my head around that. Like, why would you not want to be thriving in every capacity of your life? And not that I'm like scared of aging or dying. I'm like so the opposite of that. But I'm like, I want to be my best. I want to be the best I can be. What are those clothes? Um, what is that style of dressing? How can I improve my speaking? How can I communicate better with people to connect with an audience my age and even older, and also connect with like 25-year-olds? Who do I need to become to be that guy? Where a 25-year-old's like, that guy's cool. Not like where a 25-year-old guy is like, that's some great sage fatherly wisdom there we're getting from that fella. No, where he's like, that's a cool dude. I want to be like that guy. And sees me as like an equal. I want to be the whole sphere of connecting along that.
If you were 25 again, which country would you move to?
If I was 25 again, which country would I move to? There are some countries that I'd want to experience before I fully made that decision. I have a lot of friends that have gone to South American countries that speak very, very highly of them. I'd probably want to check those out. I'd be looking at getting on the front end of an opportunity. So we're here in Thailand. We love Thailand. Thailand's been wonderful for our life and all that. I'd say Thailand is also probably peaking. So peaks are cool. That's a good point. But after a peak, usually comes a fall backwards, fall down. I would be number one. I would not be anywhere in the Western world, and that's. I'm telling you, young guys, this is not me being like the red pill, world's hell in a handbasket sort of thing. It's none of that. It's just purely looking at it analytically. Um, the probably in your lifetime, the Western world is not going to recover from the toxicity that it's currently experiencing, which is kind of the wokeness and all that. So I would just look at it as like embrace it for what you got from it, and move forward. If that means you may need to do some citizenship adjustments to if that country is causing you too much pain, um, and I would look at the South American countries again. Like Colombia is pretty heavily played. I would be probably I would look at it about as like an equivalent to Thailand. Like it's awesome, but probably heavily played. Mexico is going to be a great financial play, but Mexico is so Americanized that I wouldn't see that as like being like a high upside. The Asian countries, the Southeast Asian countries specifically, I think Thailand is peaking. Um, the There are some positives in the Philippines. One would be that they speak English. I'd probably again, I like to enter somewhere at the bottom and that I think has a high upside. That could potentially be something like Cambodia. Malaysia is a lovely, lovely country. I absolutely love Malaysia. It is it's as advanced as Thailand, but not as cool. It's not as hip. It like doesn't have the same vibe, but it's a the most just the most peaceful country you can imagine. Some of the other like Myanmar's it's got its issues. Laos is probably too far down the line. Vietnam, I hear a lot of positive things about Vietnam. So it just if I'm just looking at Southeast Asia, I'm probably looking at Cambodia, Vietnam, and then seeing what's going on in the Philippines. Um, I've not been to Dubai. It's so money driven, and the money just doesn't drive me in that sort of a way. It's not a big deal to me, so I wouldn't move somewhere just because it's a great crypto place or a great place to network. That would not impact me in the least. And there's some other things about it that I would just would make it not a place I'd necessarily want to set up full time camp. So yeah, I'm 25 years old. You'll find me in one of the up and coming South American countries, or you'll find me in one of the up and coming Southeast Asian countries.
What do you think of Eastern Europe?
I've never been. I don't personally. The people that I've known from those countries in as actual friends, and then as also as actual like just people I bump into and whatever. They kind of have more of like an aggressive nature. It's more of a strong, just aggressive is probably the best word to describe it. Doesn't attract me. I'm not my thing. I like pure unadulterated peacefulness and lack of aggression. I love Thailand. Everybody here smiles and your grab driver will go over and above to try to make sure your situation works out and make sure you're happy and they're helpful and that's the sort of culture that I'm into. I'm not into macho. Let's figure out who's the biggest alpha in the situation.
When you got all the money, so obviously you got quite a lot of money, how did you stay motivated?
That's a struggle because I'm not very money driven. Like and that is the truth. Like I'm staying here in a hotel. Like I'm doing everything I can, like not to sell like my house and farm and stuff like that, because I am content living here in a hotel. I Guys talk about like wanting a Ferrari or going down to like even like a Mercedes Land or something like that. I'm like, oh, I no, I want like Grab and Uber. Like they just take me everywhere, and they drive really really good, and I just sit in the back seat and I can like piddle around on my phone. Like I'm, I like maybe it's just because I think everybody culturally, based on where they're from, like I grew up in a driving culture, so I drive when I'm in the U.S. I drive about 1,000 miles a week. I don't know if that means anything to you, kilometer guys. That would be I think roughly 1,600 kilometers a week. That's like how much I drive in a week just doing my thing. And and so like I don't look at driving as like a cool fun hobby. I look at driving as like, oh man, all right, well, here we go. Jump in the truck here for the next 45 minutes. It's a work thing. In the same way as an American, I have a different concept of guns. Like I had a friend here that was like, "Hey, let's go shoot guns," and I was like, okay, whatever." He's like, "Yeah, it costs like a fortune," and I was like, "I'm not gonna go spend money to shoot a bunch of guns. Like I've got literally like 50 guns at my house. I've got 10,000 rounds of ammunition, then I can just go out and just start shooting it at what the heck ever I want to shoot luxury. And so now that I'm at a point financially where I can afford luxury and all that, it's really no surprise to myself at all that I just don't have a high need for it. Like, I don't know, like you guys gonna think I'm like, you guys already think I'm super cool. You're gonna think I'm like super cool if I'm in a Lamborghini. Like, no disrespect to you guys, I don't care. Like, it just doesn't matter to me. Why would I care about something like that? I I don't so I don't have that high need for luxury, and that makes it does make it harder to stay motivated in business, and so you've got to have a bigger thing. And for me right now, that bigger thing is the giving back.